Hello, sorry, I'm looking at a game. I'm trying to figure out if I'm interested in it or not. Um, seems to think I am, so I don't know if I am. Maybe I'll put it on wish list and we'll find out later. We'll find out later if I want to. Okay. Library, music pause. I don't like when I turn off the music for a second and then it's just me and the quiet. One sec, I'm talking to Sarah. Um, I've been telling them about The Great Gatsby on Broadway, and it was important that I finished that thought before I moved on with my life. So, how are you all? Hi, Ninji. That was aggressive. Come on. Come on. Oh right, I don't have a F. I have a different keyboard right now. I can't. I need to turn it down on my end, but I don't have buttons to do so. I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be nice. I did. Oh. It was a musical. The actors were generally really great. Eva and Jeremy are fantastic singers. Eva is she's such a powerhouse. She's such an incredible singer. She's so good. The material was just a little bit mid. I haven't listened to the soundtrack again, the cast recording, and I don't think I'm going to until, oh god. Get out of here. I don't think I'm going to until after I finish writing up, what I want to write about the two Gatsby shows, because I feel like it gives, I feel like it's not fair, because I don't remember the music of Gatsby and American Myth super well, and I can't listen to the cast recording. So I think it would be, I shouldn't listen to that. But the other thing is, I don't feel the need to, which isn't necessarily it doesn't mean it's bad music. It's not bad music. I just didn't think it was the most inspiring music. There's a few songs that are good, but I think it's carried more by the performance of the actors than it being a well written song. Ava could sing me the back of a cereal box and I would be emotional. She is just that good a performer. So I think that is hold on, we have to talk about Broadway for a minute. We'll get to this in a second. The dancing was good. The dancing was fine. There was nothing unique about it, which that's kind of the thing. The thing about this entire show to me is there was nothing that was super unique about it. There's nothing it felt very standard Broadway. It felt standard Broadway to me. It's music that's vaguely inspired by the 20s. The choreography is inspired by the 20s. The costumes are costumes that are inspired by the 20s. There's aside from Nick, there's no particular meaning to any of the costumes. No costume symbolism. Really, there's a few things character notes, but not when I say costume symbolism, I'm talking about in The Great Comet, Natasha wears white the whole time, but by the end of the show, the bottom of her white dress has black crawling up it, because now she's she's introduced as she's innocent, she's naive. By the end of the show, she is not innocent anymore. She is not as naive. The world has hurt her. She has been tied to scandals, blah, 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 blah. That is what I think when I think costume symbolism. And the costumes are reflecting a deeper truth about the characters, or about the story. than things that are actually being said verbally. I mean, sometimes it's also said verbally, but you know what I mean. In this, it's mostly just like, when I say there's meaning to the costumes, I mean like Nick has the least ostentatious outfit. He has kind of like a boring tweed suit, and everyone calls him poor and a librarian and that he's boring. So that's not costume symbolism to me. That's just a costume that reflects the character. So I think that is, yeah. There is tap dancing. However, I'm being so kind right now. Jeremy Jordan can't tap dance. I almost cried laughing in the theater. So at one of the parties, there are tap dancers. They're clearly like dance members who were like explicitly there to tap dance. I think they're also in other scenes, but I never saw them singing. I believe they were just there to do some of the more intense dance stuff. They come out and they're tap dancing, and then some of the other characters who are soldiers, they're all in uniform, they're doing we're trying to reclaim the past sort of thing, join in on the tap dancing. And now, I was not watching the other soldiers. I can say that the dancers who originally came out, they were tap dancing. They were clearly tap dancing. They knew what they were doing. They had mic'd shoes, actually. I could tell they were mic'd because I used to tap dance. That's much more carry than taps have for 4 people. They were tap dancing, and then Gatsby is supposed to join, but Jeremy Jordan doesn't tap dance. And this was fast tap dancing. It was not the most complicated tap dancing in the world, but it was fast, and they are professional dancers. Jeremy Jordan was just kind of shuffling his feet, and then would like stomp when there was like a stomp, or a heel. Sometimes he would get that too. So he kind of got the beats right, but he was not tapping. He was not doing a tap dance. For all I know, none of the soldiers knew it, and we're actually tapping, and we're just shuffling. But I could not unnotice it once I noticed it, and I could not stop laughing. It was, I almost cried. I almost cried. It was just like, it was so funny. And I talked to my sister, who she got into theater through Newsies, and she just watched it the other day. And so when we were talking about this, she mentioned that in Newsies, Jeremy Jordan's character, because when people think of Newsies, one thing that they know is there's a lot of tap dancing in Newsies. Jeremy Jordan's character in Newsies never is in a tap dance. That character doesn't tap dance. And I just think he never learned how. And my thought was, well, they simply didn't have to put Gatsby in the tap dance. They could have just not had him in the tap dance. What I suspect, and this is pure speculation, is hypothetically the next Gatsby that they cast and or any understudies or swings may know how to tap dance, and they may want him to be tap dancing. But they had Jeremy Jordan. The big draw of the show is the fact that you have Jeremy Jordan and Ava, I don't remember her last name, I'm a horrible person, hold on. Ava Noblezada. They're like the big draw of the show. Like, I did not know who Nick was going in. I did not know who Jordan was going in. But I knew, because it's everywhere, that Jeremy and Ava were in this show. So they couldn't all I can think is maybe the other Gatsbys know how to tap dance, or they would like them to in the future. But since Jeremy Jordan doesn't tap dance, they were like, just shuffle your little feet. Just shuffle them. The other really notable thing, there are so many notable things, like they have 2 cars that they drive on stage. According to a friend in like interviews about the show backstage or whatever, the point of that was like they wanted to show off ostentatious wealth, which like I guess they did, but for me that was just ostentatious wealth of the show. I don't need you to be driving antique cars on stage, but that's me. There's so many things about this show. But one thing that I've been struggling with is Jeremy Jordan is doing an accent the whole time. He's doing an accent. That's not what he sounds like. When he first opened his mouth, I turned to my friend who was sitting next to me, and I went, "What's happening?" And you're probably thinking, oh, he's doing a fake accent because Gatsby. And yes, we could not place it for the longest time. And in the first scene, they moved around some of the scenes at the beginning. And it's like the first scene he has with Nick, it was inconsistent, and I could not place it. And I ended up thinking it was like vaguely British. And yeah, he is a good singer. He can tap dance, and I'm gonna be so kind. His accent work is not fantastic. So I was placing it as vaguely British. And then when he's talking to Nick in this scene, Nick is like, "Where are you from?" And he says, "California." And in that line, he sounded like he was from New York. But Gatsby is neither from New York, nor pretending he's from New York. And in interviews with Jeremy Jordan, he claims that he's doing a posh New England accent. And then he said, halfway between Jimmy Stewart and something more refined. And I looked up videos of Jimmy Stewart, and I don't think he's close to Jimmy Stewart. And I talked to my parents when I got home, because I actually don't know what a posh New England accent is supposed to sound like. Like, I don't. I just don't. I don't know any posh New Englanders. But I'm from New England, so I was like, I should be able to notice a New England accent. My mom and dad both agree that a posh New England accent, like, approaches an air of Britishness. So it's got, like, some vowel sounds for British. So what I think might have happened is, you see this a lot when people do, like, I don't know, MASH. Can you, maybe, I'll wait, hold on, let me write that down, because I'm going to look it up later, and see if, Charles Winchester MASH, because I'm going to listen and see if that's close. But what I think happened is, when people do a character for a long time, you see this a lot with impressions, you start to exaggerate a few bits of it, and I think there's a possibility that as time has gone on, Jeremy has like leaned in a little bit more to the British part of the air of Britishness in a posh New England accent, because I thought it was more British than anything else, but he's kind of inconsistent with it. It feels like it comes and goes. It isn't in any of the songs. He doesn't do an accent in any of the songs, which a lot of people their accent kind of flattens out for a lot of people in songs, but no accent in the songs. But when he's doing his voice, the speaking voice for Gatsby, it is higher, so it's a little weird. But if it was intended to be a fake accent, you would think there'd be an intentional moment when he dropped it, or someone commented on it, or Tom even made a comment about his fake accent, but that never happens. No one is ever like, everything about you is fake, how do we even know if your accent is real? Like, no one says anything about that, so I'm not sure. Like, obviously it is supposed to be fake, but like, it felt so obviously fake, it felt so put upon, I was never settled in that accent. The whole show, I was waiting for him to drop his accent. And in the last scene where he's alive, he's super, super drunk. And he still, as far as I can remember, had this accent that I hated. And so it was just so distracting to me. Like, I don't know if anyone else had this issue with it. I just, like, I couldn't. I think it would have been fine if he hadn't done an accent. I think it would have been fine. Jeremy Jordan has done so many shows. Jeremy Jordan is incredibly famous and well-known. It is baffling to me that, I mean, I'm not gonna say baffling. I think it's really weird that they decided to put him in a tap dance number. I think it's super odd. I think it's super, super odd. Is there anything else I need to tell you? Jordan and Nick romance is very heavy in this show. Jordan and Nick actually are engaged for about 6 to 12 hours. Honestly, Gatsby and Nick do not have that strong of a friendship in this show because they have to focus on Jordan and Nick's relationship. It's not a trade-off that I personally agree with, but it is a choice they made, and I can respect that choice. And Myrtle is pregnant when she gets hit by a car. So, yeah. It's, people were not exaggerating behind me at The Other Gatsby when they said this is the most literal. This is much more literal. This is much more straightforward. It is. It's a very blatant, it's a very flat version of The Great Gatsby, in my opinion. It, on their, like, above the marquee, I think it's called outside, there's like a screen. This is the Broadway theater, if Ninja knows what that is. And it's got like an advertisement on it. And it has one review about the show. And the review says something like, an engaging crowd pleaser or something. I don't think engaging is the right word, but it ends with crowd pleaser and then maybe for everyone or something. And I think crowd pleaser is definitely the phrase to use for this show. And it is not a phrase I would use for the story of The Great Gatsby. Not on the marquee, but like on their screen. There were other reviews around, but like if you're looking at the like screen that's flashing like 2-second clips from the show, you know, if you know what I'm talking about. That one, the one that they chose, used the phrase crowd pleaser. The way I see it is I personally don't like to make content, whether that's art or writing. I've gotten past trying to please people because I personally don't like it. I don't want to make stuff that will necessarily make everyone happy. I want to make something that says something and that makes me happy. And I don't think The Great Gatsby is a crowd pleaser because the biggest complaint about The Great Gatsby from college and high school students literally all over the United States is that they hate it because all the characters suck. And I have several messages to my friends that are just like, from intermission and from after the show that are like, I want them to be terrible. I want them to be worse. I want them to be so much worse. Because, like, they weren't that bad. Like, they objectively do bad things, right? Like, objectively. Like I said, they moved things around in this show. So Nick actually meets Gatsby before the apartment party. And Gatsby actually, he meets him because Gatsby, like, brings him up to his office. And I'm gonna skim through the scene really quick so you understand it. Basically, they have oh, you look familiar, I went to war, and then Nick talks for like 2 seconds about his PTSD, which doesn't come up again the rest of the show, and Gatsby says he still feels like he's in the war, and so Nick says, how do you do it? And Gatsby immediately goes into a song called For Her. He did everything for her, he survived it all for her, and then he turns to Nick, and Nick is like, I don't really get it, and he's like, Daisy Buchanan, you're going to invite her to a tea party. And Nick is like, she's a married woman, I'm not doing this, and then just like kind of leaves. They have a few more lines, but basically their first interaction is that it's very explicitly motivated by this tea party. They don't really have a long moment of like connecting or becoming friends or anything. That's just kind of what it is. And so Nick is like, I'm not going to do that. He goes to the apartment party with Tom, meets Myrtle, and Tom breaks Myrtle's nose. After that, then out of like, Nick is like, Tom's an asshole. I know what to do to like get back at him, and then calls Gatsby and arranges the tea party. So that's like Nick's worst thing is he like, he explicitly starts and like, he explicitly assists two people in having an affair. And like, Daisy doesn't seem super materialistic. She's very genuine. She seems very genuine. Not always, but like way more than in the books. Like it's just everyone is like a much easier and more digestible version of themselves. To the point when you like at the end, like, yes, Daisy doesn't show up to his funeral. Yes, like she murdered someone and had an affair. But like, you know, like, Haley turned to me during intermission and was like, I kind of want Daisy and Gatsby to make it work and be together. And it just, it's so like, yeah, it's watered down to be more easily digestible for mainstream audiences, which is like technically fine. You can do whatever you want, but I don't think it does the story justice. I don't even know if it does like any, like, you know that post that's like, are there themes in ORV? It feels like if you asked that about this, the answer is almost no. And that's not true. They like emphasize a lot about new money versus old money, but it almost seems to stop at new money and old money. And it almost seems to say, well, if you're new money, things are going to be bad, and old money will survive, and they might be assholes. Like, that kind of seems like the depth of this show. New Money you may have heard if you're on TikTok, because apparently that song is going viral, and I don't particularly like it. It's a fine song, but it's nothing to write home about. Like, it feels like a musical that was made because someone went, oh shit, The Great Gatsby is going to be public domain. Let's make a musical. And one of the reasons I feel like that is like the set is like a lot of moving pieces and a lot of screens. It's a lot of screens. It's a lot of moving pieces. It feels like a lot of times that they had a lot of money, and with stuff like the cars and stuff, it felt like they were just trying to figure out what they were going to do with all that money. You know, like they were like, damn, we got a lot of money. Where do we put it? I don't think that this show will necessarily have staying power after the cast changes. They could have spent it on dance lessons for Jeremy Jordan, you're correct. At this point, he's dedicated to not learning tap, which, you know what? Good for him, I can respect that. It's fun to see in person, but I also feel like most live theater is fun to see, even if it isn't good. Like, there's just something like really nice about live theater and being in an audience and being in that room. And it doesn't have to be a good show. It doesn't have to be the best, most talented performers, but you can still enjoy it in the moment, and then you sometimes leave the theater and you're like, oh, that wasn't very good, but yeah. And that's how I feel about like Moulin Rouge, and I actually think I had more of a fun time at Moulin Rouge, and then I left the theater and me and Siobhan looked at each other and we were like, that was bad. Again, nothing against the performers. It was the new songs and all of that. We prefer the movies. That's our big hang up. But with this one, I didn't cry. And the thing about me is I cry at everything. Going back to Moulin Rouge, I saw it in pre-Broadway, so I believe I saw, was her name Olivia? I can't remember. I saw the original Satine, and in Moulin Rouge, the musical, they switched her Someday I'll Fly Away song from the movie to Firework by Katy Perry. I personally hate this change. I think it sucks. But they were trying to modernize the music, so they have her sing Firework. And I cried. She's singing Firework. She's not like, there's not much happening on stage. It's very, it's like a park and bark. So for those who don't know what that means, it means Satine stands there and she sings. She stands and she sings. So it's a park and bark. At least when I saw it pre-Broadway. It's a park and bark, and it's Firework by Katy Perry, and I cried real tears because it was something about like the acting, the orchestration. Like, I objectively don't like this musical, but that moment made me super, super, super emotional. And with the way that the Great Gatsby musical handled the ending, which was very fast, I didn't mention it, it's very, very quick. Gatsby dies, he gets shot, I feel so bad, I almost laughed. The front of the stage is like covered in pool tiles, and there's 2 pool ladders on it. So he gets shot, he falls onto the stage, and then he rolls off the stage and there's a splash. God, I'm so sorry. And then Wilson, oh god, Wilson then shoots himself, but it blacks out right before the gunshot, so you don't see anything. You just see him start to lift the gun. And then almost immediately the lights come up. Nick is sitting in the back at a pew alone, and then a bunch of dancers come in side stage and start singing a reprise of this I think maybe like the first party song. So it's all, maybe not the first party song. I can't remember what it is, but it's a reprise of like one of the rumor songs about Gatsby. So you have maybe like, you have like a measure or two to sit in the moment of a murder-suicide and the death of Gatsby. You have like, it's not enough time, and then it immediately goes into a pretty upbeat thing, but it's not jarring enough. Like it's a little jarring, but it's not as jarring as I want it to be if it's going to be extremely jarring. And it's so sudden. And I was sure that despite not really liking the show, despite not really being into it, that I was going to cry. And they just did not give me time to cry. They didn't get me time for anything. And I don't know why they made that choice. The pacing of the second act is so odd to me personally, and then the ending goes by so fast. And like, I'm sure that I could do an analysis to be like how this works, why you would make these choices, what the impact on the story is. But when I was sitting in that audience, all I could think was, this show wants me to want Gatsby and Daisy to work out. I have no idea why they didn't let you sit in this moment of sadness that Gatsby is dead for longer than 5 seconds. It was so weird. And then there's that song, and then Nick goes and yells at Daisy, and then she sings a song titled Beautiful Little Fool that's all about, like, that line, basically. And it's a beautiful song, and Ava did an amazing job with it, and the placement just felt weird and wrong. And then there's one more song, and then I think it ends. And the last song is a reprise of the first song, exactly the same, except, not exactly the same, pretty much the same, like the start is the same, the choreography is very similar, but instead of being a participant this time, Nick is wandering around in like a daze, a shocked, horrified expression, which I think that works, except the whole ending is a bit of a speedy mess. And yeah, like I said, in one of his interviews, Jeremy said, like, because again, I was looking for stuff about this accent. He said something about that this feels like, I think it's the Playbill interview. I bet I can find it and quote you him exactly, and then I'll be done. I'm so sorry. I have so many things to say. Please don't start. Let's mute the tab. Is this one where he says it? No, it's not. Hi, Hannah. Jeremy Jordan, Gatsby, classic Les Mis Phantom. I got it. I found it. He said that he is glad the kids are experiencing a musical like Gatsby, which Jordan feels is filling the void left by classic mega musicals such as Les Miserables or Phantom of the Opera. There is a very special place for this kind of show. That epic, sweeping musical theater adventure story suggests Jordan, and we are really excited to sort of hold that place. No. Ah! I dropped something. So, I simply don't agree. I don't even love Phantom that much, but I don't think that Gatsby is, like, Gatsby has the budget, but I don't think that the music is going to stand the test of time. I really do think that Hadestown is right there. You're not wrong. Hadestown is much more. I think that they might get some Tony nods. They may get a nod. They might get an award. I don't know. I'm not familiar with anything else on Broadway right now. I just found out about the Notebook musical. I I don't think that I really do think once they get rid of this star-studded cast that it's like, even in this interview, it says, watching him croon the tune from the audience are a number of passionate young fans who hang on to Jordan's every word. Many are experiencing the story of The Great Gatsby for the first time simply because the actor is attached. Jordan attributes this fan base to his Tony-nominated turn in Newsies. Which is completely fair. Completely fair. A lot of people love him. That's not the issue. I just don't think that once Jeremy leaves this show, it has any reason to stay on Broadway. I don't think the songs are that good or that catchy. I don't think this take on The Great Gatsby is particularly interesting enough for the people who are interested in The Great Gatsby to really like it. I just think it's kind of mid. I think it's a very standard Broadway show. It feels like a standard Broadway adaptation where you're just like, this one isn't really good. I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's good. I've been trying to be nice because I wanted to give it a fair shake, especially since I love the other one so much. But, like, I want my adaptations to say something new, or not, to, like, have a point. Which is one of the reasons I do like that the Anastasia musical had to change so much to go to stage, because it was a different story, and it kind of had some new things going on. Like, the Gatsby isn't even that interesting from, like, a romance point of view. Like, none of it's that new. Like, oh, she got married, but, like, he loves her, so they're having an affair. And even Jordan and Nick, like, Jordan's whole thing is she doesn't want to get married because mostly the patriarchy. And then, like, they break up because they can't handle, like, all the stuff that happens after, like, Myrtle dies. Like, it's very basic. It might stay for a bit, but I don't think that this, like, I don't think it's gonna last. I don't think it's gonna last. If anyone ends up listening to the music, to the cast recording and has any opinions, you are welcome to let me know. I just think it's so whatever. I'm not, like, annoyed that I saw it. I love seeing theater, I always love seeing theater. I wouldn't recommend it, though. If you have the opportunity to go to Broadway and you have other options, I would, like, consider your other options. There's other not good stuff on Broadway, but, like, this one, like, I don't even think, like, the spectacle of the stage is, like, anything special to this. If you want those pieces moving in and out of, like, the stage, they have, like, screens that move across and stuff. Like, Wicked has pieces that move in and off the stage on, like, tracks, you know? Like, there are other things with, like, some bits of, like, sparklers in the background. I'm sure there's other, like, sure, they drive a car or two on stage, but it's just, like, it's whatever. The dancing is Broadway dancing. The singing is Broadway singing. Like, if you're going to see a show on Broadway, you're going to see a Broadway caliber performance. I think if you did this in a smaller theater, it would not be nearly as impressive. I think if you took away the sets, if you took away the tech, if you took away the cars, if you took away, like, if you had slightly less famous performers who, like, still professionals, but if you didn't have, like, Ava and Jordan, Jeremy, you wouldn't have anything special. I think a lot of what's special about this comes from the fact that they have a ton of money. Yeah. Oh, for sure, Ninji. I totally see that. I think a huge reason, because I was in the Broadway tag, and the only posts I saw about this show were, like, gifs of Jeremy Jordan. And it's fine to like Jeremy Jordan. Both of my friends I saw it with really, really love Jeremy Jordan, and I think he's a great singer. Like, he's a really good singer. I genuinely think the one song I've heard from him from the Tangled series has way more emotional impact on me than the entirety of The Great Gatsby, which I sat through, and I've never seen a single episode of the Tangled series. Like, it's not like a ringing endorsement. Just go see Hadestown. Fuck it, go see The Notebook. I know nothing about The Notebook, but if Ingrid Michaelson wrote the lyrics, I am very curious about The Notebook. What's going on with The Notebook musical? I don't like the movie, but I would go see it just for her music. What's happening there? Like, I would not choose. If you guys have an opportunity to go to a Broadway show, I think that The Great Gatsby should be pretty low on your list of things to see. Especially because there is never a 100% chance you will see Jeremy and Ava. Like, I say this all the time to people who are really, really, really excited to see a show. Just be aware, swings and understudies happen frequently and oftentimes with no warning. Of course, it is fine to try to see a show for a specific actor, but you never know who you're going to get, which I personally love. But, like, I always need to, like, manage people's expectations because Broadway shows and New York City trips are very expensive. And I don't want to see people completely devastated because they sit down in a seat in a theater and Jeremy Jordan is not coming on stage tonight. Like, you should still be able to enjoy the show just if Jeremy isn't there. And I'm sure I would have. But, like, I always feel like when people are going to Broadway for the first time, I have to be so clear with them. You will enjoy your understudies and swings. You will. They are professionals. They're there for a reason. But you never know. You literally never know. You have no idea who's going to be in that cast until you actually, like, open your playbill and see what little slip of paper they've slid in there telling you who's in the show. So, Sweeney Todd is just so good. There's a reason that show has lasted because that show is fucking good. I would love to see a professional Sweeney Todd performance because I've only seen an amateur one. It was still amazing, but, like, I'd love to see because it's a hard show. It's a hard show. We had to take down at least one of the songs. It's difficult. It's got some difficult parts. Anyway, we're gonna play this game now that it's been 42 minutes. The Night Before. With love and respect to these creators, this is the same chair copy-pasted, and I love it. Ninji, I've sent like thousands of words to my friends about this show. It's deeply embarrassing. Oh, I feel so out of place here. Whistle, sorry about that. Despite your clear hatred for the nobility, you found yourself at a party filled with aristocrats. I always want to talk about theater, but I haven't since college seen 2 shows in the same year. I've never done that before. You hardly recognize anyone, but many of the people here clearly recognize you. All of the people in this room. You're used to receiving dirty looks from the upper class, but you can literally feel everyone's disdain for you. Oh, I made them British, didn't I? Is she yeah, she's the sister. Why are you in the corner by yourself? Oh, Hannah saw a ton of it because I was sending it to Nikki, and I sent it to Sarah, and I talked to Nella and Haley about it a bunch. Oh. Completely valid, Ninji. I can't believe I let you talk me into coming here. Oh my god. You're right. Sorry, Hannah. I was trying to remember what's going on here, and all I could remember were that there were 2 sisters, and I couldn't remember their names, and I was like, that's probably one of them, right? Listen, I did not sleep this weekend. I didn't sleep today. I had to take a nap during my lunch break. There's too many characters that I don't know well enough, and I have no clue what their names are. I really couldn't tell you. I looked at that and I was like, that's probably it, and I was wrong, so who are they? Literally. For reasons unknown, you lose your chain of thought. Okay. I've been wanting to wear this dress for a while now. What do you think? I think you should have changed the color of your hair bow. What's wrong? You suddenly feel extremely flustered. It's difficult to make eye contact with her. Oh, I see. Are you enchanted by my beauty? Come on, say something! Ever since that night in Arnax, you felt like something has been off between you two. Oh, hi, Ruby. Am I interrupting something? Ms. Demora, I wanted to check on you two before we went to meet with Lord Frege. Oh, okay, that's who we're thinking of. That's who I'm looking at. You spot a woman silently following behind her. Is she the client that Ms. Tamura is representing? You're pretty sure this is your first time meeting her, but she still looks familiar for some reason. Hi, I'm Tyrion Cuthbert. I'm Ms. Tamura's ward. You extend out your hand to shake hers. She has an aristocratic air to her, so you hope you're not being too informal. Instead of taking your hand, she claps her hands together and takes a deep breath. What? Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It's a bit of a habit of mine. Oh. Nevertheless, she finally shakes your hand. I've heard much about you, Mr. Cuthbert. My name is Beatrice. You're not sure about the details, but your mentor appears to be brokering a deal between Beatrice and William Frege. William Frege is the ruling lord of House Frege, so you're a little curious about what kind of deal he'd be involved in, but you've learned not to pry into your mentor's business. Anyways, we'll probably be gone for a while. Can I trust you two not to cause trouble? No. You're in a manor filled with the highest members of the nobility. You might meet some familiar yet unfriendly faces. We'll keep a low profile, Ms. Tamura. Why are they here? Please do. Why did she bring them? Girl, why did you bring them? You shouldn't have done that. Oh. She shouldn't have let them come. She should not have let them come. So, why were you so insistent on accompanying Ms. Tamura to the Lord's Ball? That's... Oh, is she trying to find out who her parents are? You know you can tell me anything, right? I guess everything that happened in Arnax made me think about things. I don't really know anything about my past or where I came from. I didn't want to think about it because of my dad and mom, but... You wanted to find out who your biological parents are. I do. But I don't know now. Being here is starting to make me feel weird. I still have my mom, and looking for my birth parents feels wrong somehow. I don't think that's true. Really? Ms. Tamura adopted me when I was a child. She gave me a purpose in life. But I still keep my childhood memories of my mother close to me. Ms. Tamura and my mother are both important to me. I don't think it's disrespectful to find out more about yourself, and I'm sure your mother will understand. You think so? I mean, you could also ask her. Like, she could also just, like, go talk to her mom, is the thing. She could very much go talk to her mother. You know, like, that is an option. Go talk to your mother. Like, don't bottle it up for, like, I know, like, she was probably afraid to, but, like, after this, she should go talk to her mom. I'm sure, like, I don't know how she'd react, but she should just talk to her mom. And I'm also sure of another thing. If I'm with you, I doubt any of the nobles here will want to speak with you. Yeah, I didn't want to be rude, but... Don't worry, I can find something to fill the time. He's gonna play chess in his head. You're just going to... Oh, he's gonna play chess. Oh, right, he has that mini chess set. You're just going to play chess alone, aren't you? Maybe. You really need to learn to talk to other people. Make some new friends or something. I don't need more friends. I usually want to spend most of my time with you anyways. Anyways, I'm going to try to talk to some people. Yeah, I'll see you later. And then he played chess for 7 hours. Celeste leaves to mingle with some other partygoers. You find yourself with very little to do, and you doubt anyone would want to engage in small talk from the likes of you. Your hand instinctively goes to your satchel. It contains your foldable chessboard. Well, it's not as if I have anything better to do. I should try to find an empty table to play on. Each table has a centerpiece of flowers. Most of the seats of the table are filled. It doesn't look like you'll be able to play here. We're gonna go sit in we're gonna go sit in a hallway and play chess. Buddy. This place looks pretty quiet, but there aren't any tables anywhere. A coward, sit on the floor. Well, I could play on the floor. Oh my god. What the? If we have to deal with werewolves, I swear to God. While walking through the hallways, you suddenly find yourself face to face with a large wolf. Immediately upon seeing you, the wolf quickly gallops away. Did someone leave a door open? You think about telling someone, but then you remember the manor is full of nobles. You're sure a servant will spot it eventually, and it's not as if anyone will believe you anyways. But it'd probably be best to find somewhere else to play. You look further around the manor and find a room with several displays. It looks like a gallery of some sort, but it's slightly out of place here. There are a few nobles in the room, and they're all silently appreciating the exhibits. Perhaps Lord Frege paid a museum to create some historical displays for the Lord's Ball. Now there's a face I haven't seen before. Okay, great. Okay. As you take a closer look at one of the exhibits, an old man approaches you. Is that, monkey on his back?
Hello, my name is Harold Haraldson. I'm the curator of this collection. Harold Haraldson? Is that a pseudonym or something? No.
Great! He's a historian.
I see.
Wait, he's a museum curator? He must be extremely knowledgeable about Wyvengard's history. You wonder.
Would you happen to know anything about the ancient dragons? Like the scaled Lord Rathalion. There are many pieces in this gallery, and some of them were items that were wielded by the 7 heroes of Wyvengard. Legend says that some of these items were directly enchanted by Rathalion himself.
Enchanted by Rathalion. Would that mean that they also don't follow the rules of magic? Perhaps you should examine these items more closely.
It's a pair of metallic armbands. There are several magical runes carved into them. Those are the armbands of intellect. They were actually created by a member of House Frege many centuries ago. Centuries? That would make these armbands one of the first creations of artificery. That's correct. Legend says that whoever wore these armbands would be granted unparalleled levels of intellect. Many believed that House Frege created these to aid them in their study of magic. It's a crimson red short sword. That's the sword of spell eating. Legend says that it has the power to protect its wielder from any kind of magic.
Why can't you guys test these? Like, legend says? Like, test the magic item, sir.
So it's like an anti-magic field? In a way, yes, but it has less than heroic origins, I'm afraid. It's said that this sword was created through a blood pact between a mage and a demon. Or demon? Legends say that some demons had the power to absorb and nullify magic. A demon must have imbued some of that power into this sword, or at least that's what the legends say.
That is a different sword, isn't it?
Is it safe to put something like this on display? What if the legends are true? Don't worry, these displays are fortified with several abjuration spells. I'd bet even Lord Steelwind would have trouble getting into this.
I think that is a different sword. Hi!
It's a painting of a researcher. That's Professor Matt Furland. He was a professor of some renown. He was a researcher of the combinatorial magic theory. What's that? It's the study of how different types of magic interact with each other. He famously ran an experiment on what would happen if 2 anti-magic fields overlapped each other. That's actually pretty interesting. What were the results of the experiment? Well, they had mages enter the space where the 2 fields overlapped. It turns out those those mages were able to use their magic in that space. Wait, how would that be possible? They would have had 2 anti-magic fields affecting them. When the 2 fields overlapped, they canceled each other out. I've heard it's akin to multiplying 2 negative numbers together. It's a pair of golden earrings. There are small jewels embedded into each of them. Those are the earrings of vitality. It's said that the scaled lord imbued a portion of his immortality into these. Legends say that whoever wore them would have their lifespan increased tenfold. The scaled lord could do things like that? Of course, he is the Scale Lord after all.
Great.
Are there any spells that can create a similar effect to these earrings? Not that I know of. A spell like that would probably fall under the school of necromancy, and I'm sure you know how much the kingdom scrutinizes that type of magic.
Great.
So what is a historian doing at the Lord's Ball, Mr. Haroldson? You say legend says a lot for a historian. Harold. Right. Harold. Anyway, Lord Frege invites my museum to set up some displays here every year. He must think it adds a semblance of culture, the fool. You own a museum? Yes, it's the Haroldson Hall of History, located in the city of Homherith.
That's a mouthful.
Unfortunately, I don't think his guests appreciate the historical significance of these items. Honestly, I think you are the only person in years who's taken a meaningful interest in them.
Oh my god.
Sorry, but I really have to ask. Is that a monkey riding on your back?
Oh. It's a monkey named Eugene. Hey.
Yes, this is my familiar, Eugene. Your familiar? A familiar is a creature that a mage has formed a magical bond with. With that bond, our souls are forever connected. I can communicate with him telepathically. I could even cast my spells through him if I wanted to. Really? I never knew a spell like that existed.
So do we think that wolf might be a do we think that wolf might be a familiar? Eugene cast explosion. So options for that wolf. Familiar, werewolf. Honestly, a werewolf would be fun. I know I just said I don't want to deal with a werewolf, but it's a little more fun than a familiar. The wolf is the future love interest. I mean, maybe.
It's quite rare. Very few mages take the time to learn how to cast it.
Familial bond. The bond can only be broken in death.
Eugene helps me with my day-to-day. These old bones aren't as spry as they used to be after all.
So, I mean, that wolf could belong to anyone, but it could also be the familiar of, what's her name? Because she is blind. It could be, like a guide dog. It also could not be. I'm just spitballing with what information we've got.
Harold. As a historian, do you have a lot of knowledge about the ancient dragons?
Beatrice, thank you. Thank you for, like, paying attention, because I'm sure not.
The answer to that question is somewhat complicated. What do you mean? Unfortunately, a lot of historical texts in my collection have been altered or even outright destroyed by the Church of Behemoth. Because of that, it's quite difficult to separate myths from actual historical accounts. Right. I remember encountering a similar problem at the Imperial Academy. You might be quite dedicated to your studies. They let this simpleton into the Imperial Academy?
Rude, but you suppose that can't be helped.
I had to fight the church for a long time before I could even display dragon bones in my museum.
Okay.
In the history of the ancient dragons, was there any instance of them granting powers to humans? Well, of course, that's the entire premise behind the 7 Years of Wavengard. Does this idiot not even know about that?
This guy is being so mean. In his head. It's in his head, so it's not really a big deal because he doesn't say it out loud, but, you know.
Right, but was there anything before that? Did they ever grant supernatural abilities that didn't follow the rules of arcane magic? Granting supernatural abilities, you say? That sounds more like something demonic in nature, rather than draconic. Demonic? Much like the ancient dragons, demons are the stuff of myths. There are many stories of people selling their souls to them for untold power.
Selling their souls? Clearly this guy has never seen Supernatural if he doesn't know what's going on. You recall the note that your mother left for you before she was executed. Here's some backstory, folks. Use my eyes. Peer beyond the divine gate as I once did. She told you to use her eyes. Did your mother make a deal with a demon to give you the Eye of Horus?
Is something wrong? This simpleton is far too superstitious. No, nothing's wrong.
It's a bit too much to take in, but you might just be overthinking this. There haven't been any recorded sightings of demons in recent history. There are only secondhand stories and superstitions. The Eye of Horus can't possibly be demonic. Can it? You hope Celeste's investigation is going better than yours.
Oop, uh-oh. Celeste, with love, this woman is not old enough to be your mother.
How dare you insinuate that I engaged in an adulterous relationship? That's not what I... Enough. If you try to speak with me again, I'll have the Kingsguard throw you out.
There are two very different eras of dresses happening right now. This isn't working.
I don't think asking like that will be very effective.
What? Oh my god! You're also in a dress from that's not the same as some of the other dresses. Hey girl!
Did you expect anyone here to be truthful with you? You're essentially asking them if they cheated on their spouses. Have you been spying on me? Not intentionally. I was just surprised to see you here, of all places.
Right. I guess that makes sense.
You're not party crashing, are you? Of course not. I came here with Ruby and Tyrion. That honestly raises more questions than answers, but I'll take your word for it. Anyways, you're looking for your birth parents, aren't you?
Was I being that obvious?
It's the only reason I could think of. Why else would you be trying to speak with members of the nobility? I don't know if this is any of my business, but think hard about whether this is truly what you want. Getting entangled in the aristocracy will only bring you misery. I've read your file. You have everything you could ever want. You have your mother and your friends. You even have a lover.
What?
You're in a relationship with Mr. Cuthbert, are you not? No? Tyrion's not my... Really? From the way you two behave around one another, I just assumed. It's pretty obvious you have feelings for him. What? How obvious? Did he seriously not notice? I think someone with his deductive reasoning skills would easily see through you.
Oh yeah?
Well, what about you and Aster? I have no idea what you're talking about. Come on, I was there at the Von Sanctus Manor. It's so obvious you like him. Please, you're grossly exaggerating things. He may be my fiancé, but I only have the utmost respect for him.
No, Ninji. We can stay there. We can stay there. Leave the Yuri goggles on. Leave them on. I want to walk with you. I want to walk with you in this space.
And what if I told you he was standing right behind you? Do you honestly think I'd fall for something like that?
Hey, Aster. Hey, buddy. Maya and Fran, if they were written by someone worse. Help. I suddenly got a little Sorry, I have been going, oh, I have to pay attention to which nobles have the same hair and eye color as Celeste, because Beatrice and her sister look a lot alike. And I'm like trying to memorize Aster's colors for when we pop back to Celeste. Much to consider. What are you falling for?
Your Highness.
Who is this tiny child? Oh my god. Sorry, I got distracted by the baby.
Oh, hello, Lady Steelwind.
Oh, Your Highness, please don't run ahead like that. Your conversation with Harold was definitely interesting, but you still find yourself with very few leads. Whether it be dragons or demons, the origins of the Eye of Horus still remain a mystery. You find yourself returning to the ballroom, and you spot Celeste in the corner with some other people. Is she with Aster and Steelwind? Everyone look at her real quick and just memorize.
Hey, Aster, what do you think of Steelwind's dress?
It suits you very well, Miss Steelwind. You look lovely.
Ah!
Gross.
As you approach the group, you're stopped by a knight from the King's Guard. He stares you down.
What? Repario Arcanum.
That was the incantation for detect magic. It's definitely plausible, Hannah. It's definitely plausible, Hannah. I said plausible wrong and then tried to say your name and everything went to shit. I am very tongue-tied tonight. I think it's because I'm so tired. I really think it is. Why do I have 30 messages? What are they talking about? Oh. Sorry, I'm reading about the news. Okay, great. Figured out what I was looking for. We're all good. New York steals my words for real. The knight stares you up and down. Celeste hadn't cast any spells on you lately, so he shouldn't be able to see any traces of magic. And he vanishes like a ghost.
Oh my, Mr. Cuthbert. What was that all about? My apologies. They were making sure you weren't disguising yourself with an illusion.
The King's Guard are charged with keeping us safe. They must take every precaution to protect us.
Oh, and who might you be?
Okay, child. Alaric de Wyvern Guard, occupation prince, age 7, arcane art evocation.
Do not speak so familiar with me, peasant.
Alaric, don't speak to him like that.
Why shouldn't I speak to him as I please? I'm Prince Alaric de Wyvern Guard the 6th. I will not demote myself by showing courtesy to a commoner.
Doesn't he mean demean? Look at this small child. Look at this tiny child.
I'm terribly sorry about him, Mr. Cuthbert. It's fine. Anyways, weren't you supposed to be investigating your birth parents?
Shut up, Hannah! Shut up!
Leave the poor woman alone.
She started it!
Right. I'm actually quite surprised to see you both here. What brings you to the Lord's Ball, Mr. Cuthbert? We were just accompanying Miss Tamora. Her client has business with Lord Frege. Her client?
Uh-oh. Girlie's pissed. Girlie's pissed.
Beatrice?
Beatrice suddenly storms through the ballroom. She almost walks right past you before she hears Aster's voice. She looks furious. Did her discussion with Lord Frege go badly? Oh, that voice. Is that you, Aster?
It really is you.
She called him Aster instead of Your Highness. Do they personally know each other? Ooh! I'm glad to see you again. It's been quite some time.
Is that really all you have to say?
It appears you two have much to talk about. I'll be taking my leave.
Are we in a lover's quarrel? Oh, jeez. No one's happy. There's a bit of tension in the air. Maybe we should go too. Yeah, literally, dude. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Celeste, we should probably get going too.
Yeah. Wow, that was uncomfortable. That's what I was thinking, Hannah.
Wow, that was awkward.
Yeah, I wonder how those two know each other.
She's working with this Tamora, but she somehow knows Lord Frege and the Crown Prince? Just who is she? Well, you suppose it's none of your business. No, be nosy.
Anyways, how did your investigation go?
I got nothing. I think all I did was make a bunch of the nobles mad.
Sorry, I know you really wanted answers, but I'm sure that something will come up.
You think so? It might be a little irresponsible to give her hope like this. A noble abandoned her at a tavern in a roundabout village. You doubt someone like that would make themselves easy to find.
Anyways, I don't want this night to be a total loss. Come on, dance with me.
What? That's not really something I...
Don't be like that. How often do we get to go to a party like this?
Before you have a chance to object, she grabs your hand and starts dragging you to the middle of the room. You receive a few dirty looks from the aristocrats nearby.
Celeste, people are staring at us.
Who cares what they think? They're nobles. They're going to hate us no matter what we do.
She takes hold of your other hand and begins to pull you into a waltz. Oh my god! This is cute.
Him in his goofy suit. I don't even know how to dance. I've never done this before.
This is not a waltz. That's not the waltz position, but nice try, you two.
It's easy. Just stop being so awkward about it.
That's easy for her to say.
All right, just tell me what I need to do.
He looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh villain. Help.
Well, first, you need to be closer to me.
Okay, we're getting closer to what a waltz, I don't remember what it's called, the position. With one swift motion, she pulls your body closer to hers. We are at an angle. We are laying down on the floor. She
Watch my movements and try to follow my lead.
You seem to know a lot about these things.
I had to do a lot of networking when I was a mercenary. You know how many times I had to charm a merchant into hiring me?
I see.
You really don't know much about her, do you? You carefully watch the position of her feet and try to match her movements so her gown can't be floor length. After a while, you find yourself able to match her rhythm, but you still accidentally step on her foot every few beats. She doesn't seem fazed by it. Either she's being polite or she genuinely doesn't feel anything.
You're getting it, but don't focus so much on where your feet are. Just look at me.
What?
Come on, do it.
You try to break eye contact with her, but every time you do, you slowly find yourself being drawn back into her eyes. You feel so embarrassed that you're becoming lightheaded, and you find yourself perspiring more than usual, or sweaty. But at the same time, you don't have any urge to break away from her. There's a comforting warmth behind all the anxiety you're feeling.
There he is, the infamous Tyrion Cuthbert. Never turns away from a challenging noble, but can't dance a step to save his life.
Her expression doesn't betray a hint of it, but you still detect feelings of nervousness from her. Is she just as flustered as you are? You find yourself relaxing a bit more, and you're somehow able to continue matching her movements.
See, there you go. Although,
What is it?
you know, the man is supposed to lead, right?
Maybe I don't subscribe to gender stereotypes.
Or maybe you just suck at this.
It's been a while since you felt this calm. There's always been something you needed to prepare for. A client that needed saving. A culprit that needed catching. But you're quite content with this one brief moment that you're able to spend with her. You almost find yourself getting lost in the mood. Oh my god! Until you spot a familiar face, accompanied by a legion of knights.
No, don't tell me.
The knights storm their way to where Beatrice and Aster are. Several of the attendees take notice. They all stop what they're doing to see what's going on.
Beatrice Frege, by authority of the Wyvern Crown, you are under arrest.
Did he just say Beatrice Frege?
Damn it, it was just getting good. We should go see what's happening, shouldn't we?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh my god, Engie. I was gonna say this is a really similar pose to Celeste's Engie pose, but I think Arya also has this pose, so I don't know if it's I don't know if it means anything.
You are completely out of line, Commander. I thought I told you to stand down.
Do you not recognize who you're speaking to? Let go of Lady Frege.
I can't really do that, Your Highness. Master, what's going on? It's Lord Frege. He was found murdered in his study, and these cretins think that Beatrice is behind it somehow. Sorry, Your Highness, but my orders come straight from Steelwind.
Lady Steelwind sent you.
Beatrice takes in a deep breath and claps her hands together. Do we think that could be related to the wolf?
I should go with them. What? No.
My brother is right. They have no right to...
I don't want to cause friction between you and Arya. She's always been meticulous. I'm sure she's just being careful. I'm sure I'll be exonerated once they've thoroughly investigated what happened.
Okay. Only if that's what you truly want. What? You can't just let them take her away. Brother, she's correct. It's not our place to interfere with the laws of our kingdom. But...
So true.
However... Yes, Your Highness? Miss Beatrice is blind. One of your knights will need to escort her. She's what?
Did he just say that she's blind?
Anyways, we're gonna need to take you to a holding cell, lady. One of you should stay with her and guide her through...
Please, I may be disabled, but I'm not a child.
Over it! Over it! Over it! Fucking over it! I'm over it! We had this conversation with Snake. I'm over it. I'm over it. You're at a crowded party. You're going to jail. Let someone guide you. Or at least use like some kind of like mobility device or a guide dog. If the fucking wolf is her familiar and acting as her eyes, then this is acceptable. I'm so over it. Like, there's nothing wrong with someone who needs like help walking around for whatever reason. Just like let her take someone's arm and have them guide her. It's okay. It's not a sign of like weakness or anything. That's just what she needs. Like as an accessibility thing. Like, I'm over it. No more of this. No more. I'm done. I'm tired. It's tired. It appears that she already knows the way out. See, like, that's the thing. I think this is technically her... Is this her house? I can't remember. Like, it's whatever. Whatever.
Well, shouldn't you all be following her? Right. Inquisition, move out.
You definitely didn't expect the night to go like this. Just what is going on here? Oh, yeah.
Okay. I can't believe they kept us here until noon.
The Lord's ball was already running well into the night, even before the murder occurred. You'd like nothing more than to catch up on your lost sleep, but you made a promise to Aster.
This doesn't make any sense. Beatrice was with me and my brother the entire night.
Right. You were there when she met with him in Sealwind.
She couldn't have stolen the sword of spell eating and murdered her father. I don't understand.
I hope the wolf murdered someone.
Of all the people that could have done this, why would Steelwind suspect a blind woman? Mr. Cuthbert, could you defend Beatrice against these awful charges? I don't think I even need to. What?
Beatrice is Ruby's client. I'm sure that she'll be the one defending her.
Well, that certainly puts my mind at ease. What's wrong? I don't know if I'm asking too much, but could you still investigate the crime scene for me, Mr. Cuthbert? What? But we just said that Ms. Tamora will... I know. I don't doubt her abilities, but Beatrice is a dear friend of mine. I'd like every chance for her to be found innocent.
He said that she was a dear friend. They must know each other since she's a Freyga. But why would Ms. Tamora, of all people, represent a member of the noble house? There are still a lot of things you don't know about her.
Of course, I'll also compensate you for your services. Consider yourself blessed. A commoner like you could only dream of a job like this.
Alaric. How do you say that? Is it... I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Alric. Alric. I was saying it wrong, wasn't I? This one is saying Alaric. 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 I guess I can say it as wrong as many times as we want. I guess we can say it however the fuck. The tiny prince has a point, though. A payment from the crown prince does sound tempting. Just take it, man. We need money. We need money.
I can't believe this.
Wait, if we've been here since last night, when did you change? Celeste returns to the ballroom. She changed back to her normal clothes. Did she bring a change of clothes with her to the party?
What's wrong?
The people in the coat room said they couldn't find my sword. They told me that someone must have stolen it.
What?
Huh. Why would someone want to steal Celeste's sword? Uh-oh. I guess that's fair, but, like, I don't think... I don't know if that's, like... For, like, a really upper-class party where, like, it's all nobility and, like, the heirs to the throne. I don't know if people are bringing changes of clothes. Aside from your group, everyone else at the ball was an aristocrat. You do recall her saying that it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. Someone might have stolen it because of its rarity.
We can probably keep an eye out for it while we investigate the manor. This might all just be some kind of mistake.
I hope so. But anyways, where should we start first?
We should head to the crime scene.
I remember hearing that they found Lord Frega's body in his study. Let's go over there. I've stopped the music for you.
You arrive at the crime scene and see the usual swarm of Inquisition knights. However, you also spot some members of the King's Guard. They must be working together since the victim is from one of the Pillar families.
I wasn't expecting to see you here, Mr. Cuthbert. I thought Ruby Tamora was defending this case.
I guess she's also wearing her standard clothes. I kind of wish they were investigated in fancy dress. I think that's fun. I always think it's fun when there's investigations in fancy dress. Prosecutor Steelwind approaches you as you enter the study. And she's followed by an unexpected yet familiar face. Oh right, she got injured! I forgot she got injured.
Wallace? What are you doing here? He's here as my aide for the investigation.
You don't doubt Wallace's abilities, but you can't think of any reason why Steelwood would need his help. Why is she injured? Did the fucking wolf bite her? But you suppose it's none of your business.
Anyways, we're here on behalf of Crown Prince Aster. He hired us to investigate the case independently.
I see. I'm sure he just wants to make sure the investigation goes smoothly. Well, if you're here on behalf of His Highness, I'll do whatever I can to help you.
This whole situation is quite unorthodox, but your goal remains the same. Perhaps Steelwind can tell you more about what happened. She fought a werewolf, yeah.
What can you tell me about the murder?
William Frega was found dead in this room after the lockdown was lifted.
Wait, lockdown? What lockdown?
From what we can tell, his sword had been slashed open with a letter opener.
Could it be the claw of a wolf?
The cause of death was blood loss. Both of his carotid arteries were severed.
Here's the autopsy report if you want a detailed description.
I forgot he looked like that. Scratch marks on the face and back.
Were you able to find the murder weapon?
Yes, the murderer left it at the crime scene. It was a letter opener owned by the victim.
The murderer must have found it in this room and used it.
There was one strange detail about the weapon. The handle was completely shattered. We're not sure what to make of that detail, but it's as if something crushed the handle using tremendous force.
That's a letter opener? I mean, the rest of it looks like it, but, like, even the handle as it is now does not. Maybe, whatever. What could have caused the handle to shatter like that? I don't know what they mean by shattered, because it looked fine. I don't know if that was the unshattered handle or what.
You mentioned that there was a lockdown? When did this happen?
You didn't notice. The Inquisition did try to be discreet, but everyone noticed the commotion Beatrice and the two princes made over it. I suppose the two of you must have been lost in your own little world, weren't you?
Oh. Well, anyways, you said that Lord Frega's body was found after the lockdown.
Can I see? Is it... I bought shells on Amazon and Carter switched them out. Oh, you didn't like the ones you had?
No, you got the pretty switch.
Oh, you just had the standard one?
I bought mine, like, week
3.
I remember that.
Yeah, so the boys bought the only one that they could find because we went to like 12 different stores.
It's pretty color.
Yeah.
There you go. Have fun. That means that something else must have happened prior.
Supposedly. Yeah. Supposedly, someone had broken into one of the Heraldson exhibits. One of the magical artifacts was stolen.
So there was also a theft last night. Does the manor's lockdown system behave like the one at the Imperial Academy?
The systems are somewhat different. Unlike the Imperial Academy, the lockdown only prevents people from leaving or entering the manor.
So not all of the rooms were locked, but what about this specific room?
This room does have abjuration wards that lock the door and prevent teleportation in and out of it. In addition to that, the system placed an anti-magic field over the manor. An anti-magic field?
What's that?
Anti-magic field is a spell that nullifies all magic within it.
And we did just learn from that picture that I don't know if we needed to click on, that if there are 2 anti-magic fields, they'll nullify each other. So,
And the system somehow covered the entire manor in this effect?
If you noticed, there are several purple crystals embedded in the walls of the manor. Each of those crystals produced an anti-magic field during the lockdown.
So no one could cast magic during the entirety of the lockdown?
Not exactly. Someone could have used the stolen artifact to circumvent it.
You mentioned that someone could have used the stolen artifact to get past the anti-magic fields? Which artifact was it?
It was the Sword of Spell Eating.
That was the demon-forged item that could supposedly nullify magic, but you don't really need it. If the legends were true, someone could have used it to counteract the lockdown system.
After Lord Haraldson reported the theft, the Inquisition discreetly placed the manor on lockdown. They searched every room in the manor to try to find it, but it was evidently found in Beatrice's bedroom.
And that led them to believe that she had stolen it?
That's correct, when the King's Guard moved to arrest her. The King's Guard moved to arrest her, but Prince Astor ordered them to step down. It didn't look like she was planning on fleeing, so they planned to wait until after the party had ended.
But then they found Lord Frega's body.
Correct. We believe that she used the stolen sword to nullify the magical locks and break into Lord Frega's study. But if she had the sword, wouldn't she use that to commit the murder? We're not entirely sure. We have a few working theories. She might have wanted to prevent the theft from being tied to the murder. Or perhaps she had more confidence wielding a knife over a sword. Regardless of her actions, it's clear that the sword wasn't the murder weapon.
So she's not just being implicated in Lord Freya's murder, she's also being charged with stealing the Sword of Spell Eating. But what possible reason would she have to do either of those crimes?
Since the body was found here, was Lord Frega locked in this room during the lockdown?
Yes. William Frega knew that this room should have been secured. He was supposedly in a mad mood, and had locked himself in this room for most of the night. He refused to let anyone into the room. The only person he spoke to after was his daughter.
His daughter? Are you talking about Miriam?
No. Lord Frega had another daughter. I'm referring to Leify? Leify? Did we decide with Leify or Leif? Leify Frega, Lord Frega's middle child. She tried to tell her father about the theft, but he was apparently preoccupied with something else. He said he wanted to stay in his study for the rest of the night.
When did this happen?
It was shortly before the lockdown was activated, a little after 1 a.m.
I see.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Wow, she looks nothing like her sisters. Holy shit. Her sisters are like near identical. She looks completely different. Leify must have been the last person to see Lord Frega alive then. You should speak with her and get more details about Lord Frega's actions that night.
By the way, Steelwind, do you have a map of the manor?
I do. Would you like a copy?
Please and thank you. Were there any other witnesses aside from Leify who saw Lord Frega that night? Perhaps someone had heard what happened from a nearby room.
There was someone who heard the altercation, but it was quite obscured. A servant was trapped in a storage room nearby. There's an air vent that connects with this room with that storage room. He supposedly heard sounds of a struggle through that vent.
What did the witness hear?
There were sounds of a struggle before he heard Lord Frega choking on his own blood. When the lockdown was lifted, he informed the King's Guard of what he had heard. That's when they discovered the body.
I see. Who was the servant?
I believe you actually know him. His name is Jan Hughes.
Wait, Mr. Hughes is here?
You never expected to see him again? Much less here of all places, but I guess they can only draw so many sprites. But if you heard the altercation, you definitely want to speak with him.
I think I'm lacking a lot of information about the defendant. From the way you were both acting, you and Nasser seem to know her.
Your mentor didn't tell you about her.
No, I try not to pry into her business.
I see. I honestly don't know much about what happened either. But Beatrice was Lord Frega's eldest daughter and the former heir to House Frega.
Former heir?
About 5 years ago, she fled Frega Manor and went into hiding. None of us knew where she'd gone. She ignored any attempts we made to contact her. She even used her magic to prevent us from scrying her. Last night's ball was the first time in years that Astor and I had seen her.
But if that's true, then how did Ms. Tamora meet her?
Would you happen to know why Beatrice was meeting with her father after all these years?
I have some ideas, but nothing concrete. I was hoping you could tell me. Tamora and Beatrice have both refused to disclose anything about their meeting.
Damn it. What could that meeting have been about?
Speaking of which, I haven't seen Tamora anywhere in the manor. As the defendant's attorney, I would have thought she'd be here to investigate the murder alongside you.
That is strange. But Ms. Tamora has always had her own way of doing things. Perhaps she's using a different strategy.
Anyways, I imagine that she met with her father to request financial aid.
Why do you say that?
I have it on good authority that she was deeply in debt. That's the only reason why she would speak with her father after all these years. It's also why I believe she murdered her father.
You think she murdered him for his inheritance?
It's the only motive that makes sense.
Alright, there's a lot to work through here. The prosecution will try to assert that Beatrice committed the murder. But what would she have needed to do to carry out all the actions described?
So the first thing we need to do is narrow down the time in which the murder occurred.
When did the murder occur?
The body was discovered after the lockdown was lifted.
And Lafey Frega saw that her father was alive before it was activated. He entered his study and she watched as the clock engaged.
The murder occurred during the lockdown.
Right. The murder must have occurred during the lockdown.
But that means the murderer somehow got past the abjuration wards that protected his room.
Those wards blocked teleportation, and they magically locked the only door leading into his room. Steelwind and the Inquisition believe that Beatrice used the Sword of Spell-Eating to get past them. Regardless of what they think, we need to assume that the murderer used some kind of magic nullification to get into William's study.
But that's not necessarily true, is it? What if the murderer entered the room before William locked it?
If they were in the room when William locked it, they would have been trapped here until he decided to leave. Not only that, they would have been discovered the moment the guards entered his study.
Maybe they used some kind of invisibility. Or they could have teleported away the moment the King's Guard unlocked the door. Teleportation didn't occur. We didn't find any traces of conjuration magic.
What about Celeste's theory of an invisible assailant?
I'll admit that we did find traces of illusion magic, but the moment the guards saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible people hiding in the room. Wait, you can use Detect Magic like that? Of course, it's standard procedure. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on the person it's cast on, so mages can use Detect Magic as a way to see through invisibility.
So we know for sure that they weren't here before or after the lockdown. That means that whoever committed the murder used some way to bypass the abjuration wards to protect this room. The next thing to consider is the murder weapon.
Where did the murder weapon come from?
It was a letter opener that was presumably owned by William Frega. The murderer probably used it to avoid leaving evidence that incriminated him.
The murderer took the murder weapon. Okay, sorry, that was just worded weird, so I didn't think I got it right. That's on me.
Right, the letter opener came from this room. The murderer probably wanted to avoid using a weapon that would have implicated them. So they decided to use it and leave it here after the deed was done. But that leaves a glaring hole in the prosecution's case.
And what would that be, Mr. Cuthbert?
What is flawed with the prosecution's case?
Beatrice Frega is completely blind. Even if she were somehow able to break into a highly guarded exhibit, how did she slip past the guards and enter Lord Frega's study?
Sorry, I'm moving my mic around.
Furthermore, How did she locate the letter opener if she couldn't see it in the first place? None of it makes sense. Committing this murder unseen would have been a tall order for anyone. I can hardly believe a blind person did all this.
Blind people can be murderers too, guys.
You do well not to underestimate her, Mr. Cuthbert.
Yeah, literally. Diversity win.
What?
You don't know her as I do. She's far more capable than you realize. She must be the one behind this.
I love this for her, for Arya, because she's 18 now, and if they haven't seen Beatrice in like 5 years, she was 13. She's like, you don't know her? Like, I do. Like, baby, you were 13. I remember being 13. You didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, I think Aster would have been 21, and I can't remember. Beatrice is maybe 23. That's a guess. So she would have been, what, 18? So, like, they're at least older. Arya, baby, you were 13. Like, being 13 is not the thing. You did not know an 18-year-old when you were 13. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that, girl. You did not know what was going on with an 18-year-old when you were 13. I say that with full respect. You just didn't. That's just how it is when you're 13.
I suppose I didn't know. I wouldn't know. But the idea that Beatrice did any of this is still ludicrous.
I suppose I can't change your mind about that. But I have to ask you a question, Mr. Cuthbert. What would you do if you discovered that one of your clients was guilty?
What? I mean, I tend to have an insight into these sort of things. That would never happen.
I've already seen your uncanny ability to read people, but I'm only hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, they look nothing alike. Yeah, but you know how these games are. Oh, okay, yeah.
So, what would you do if they were guilty?
I suppose I'd withdraw and tell them to find another lawyer.
That is technically true. I believe if you feel that you cannot give them a proper defense because you know something, you are. I'm trying to fix my mic. It's being weird. I believe that you are supposed to withdraw and have them find someone else, but I think it isn't. I don't know. I just heard that like once maybe, but I'm not a lawyer, so meh.
And if no one else would represent them?
I don't know. It would definitely be a hard choice for me, but I would never be able to represent them if I knew the truth. I just can't stand by and let a murderer escape justice.
I see.
Well, maybe like maybe you need to think of it in a different way. Again, not a lawyer, but I was once watching someone discuss a legal case that was ongoing, and they were telling people like to not be disparaging towards the defense attorneys because it was a pretty intense case in the comments, because they were like, if you guys struggle to understand someone defending someone who seems clearly guilty, think of it less as them defending them and more of them making sure that a fair trial occurs so that our justice system can work to the best of its abilities and they can have a fair trial so there aren't retrials in the future and what actually happened comes to fruition the best that it can be. Like, maybe think of it less of doing that and more of that. I don't know, because, like, the thing about defense attorneys is, like, guilty people still have to have defense attorneys. That's the whole point in the United States. Like, even if you are guilty, you still have the right to an attorney. So someone has to do it, and that doesn't make those defense attorneys a bad person. It just doesn't. What am I talking about?
Why do you ask?
No reason.
Okay.
Anyways, she's made her stance clear. I haven't. I haven't made my stance clear. I don't know what words are coming out of my mouth anymore. You still have a lot of leads to follow up on. You should move somewhere else. Go away.
What's wrong?
You can't see it, but the entire room is covered in traces of abjuration magic. Everything is glowing white.
Right, that makes sense. There were several anti-magic fields covering the manor. Those fields probably left traces of abjuration everywhere.
I won't bother showing you the traces of abjuration I find while we're here.
There's a pool of blood and a chalk outline where the body must have been.
Oh wow, nothing more.
It's a fireplace. Could the murderer have entered through here?
That wouldn't be possible. The chimney is far too narrow. Even a small child wouldn't be thin enough to fit through it.
There's a window that leads into this room. Could the murderer have escaped through here?
No, the window doesn't open and the glass is magically reinforced.
It's a bookshelf filled with books.
I wonder what kind of books Lord Frege owned.
You can just go and look.
Wait a minute, they're all blank.
All his real books are on the floor by his desk.
That's so weird.
There are several books about economics and politics. It doesn't look like there's anything of note.
Alright. Oh wait,
Tyrion arcanum.
thanks, girly.
There's a trace of illusion magic where the body was.
You say they must have used some kind of magical disguise.
Or they turned themselves invisible.
Not divination, okay. This is the same bedroom that her sister had at the school, if you were curious. Same bedroom. Come on, Tracker, where are you? As you enter Beatrice's room, you're unexpectedly met with a large cloud of dust. Wow, this place has not been cleaned. Oh, hey girl! You do not look like your sisters. Oh! Your vision clears up and you realize that there's someone else in the room with you. No, I completely understand. I totally understand reusing backgrounds. I 100% get it. It's just always funny. It's always funny.
Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude.
No, there's no need to apologize. But I would like to know what you're doing here. We're here on behalf of the Crown Prince. We're investigating the murder of William Frege.
Oh, I see.
My apologies, I didn't quite get your name.
My name is Leify Frege.
Occupation noble. Not a job! So this is Leify. According to Steelwind, she was the last person to see Lord Frege alive yesterday. She might have some information about how he was acting that night. What did you see?
I'm sorry for your loss, Lady Frege, but do you mind if I ask you some questions about last night?
Unemployed!
Of course. Prosecutor Steelwind told us that you were the last person to see him alive. Did you notice anything unusual about your father's behavior?
Well, he was extremely upset about something. I think Beatrice may have offended him during their meeting. The servants said that he wanted to be left alone. He retreated into his study immediately after their meeting. I tried to speak with him after the theft was reported, but he didn't much care about the missing artifact. He told me to leave him alone and let the King's Guard investigate the sword. He was probably busy making changes to the will. Now that's an interesting thought.
When did you go speak with him last?
It was before they activated the lockdown. It was a little after 1 a.m. that night.
And do you have any idea what he was doing in his study?
What? No, I have no idea. You detect some fear from her. Makes circles out of fabric, not rectangles. Interesting.
Lady Frege, is there something you're not telling us? It's important that we know about your father's actions before his death.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything else. My father was a private man, and didn't share much with anyone, even his own family. I wish I could be more help, but I don't really know anything else. I refuse to believe that's why he was killed.
She's clearly holding something back. I almost stayed British. If you can reveal what she's hiding through an argument, she might be more willing to cooperate. But you'll need more information about William and his will first. In the meantime, you should figure out what else she knows.
I noticed that this room hasn't been cleaned recently. Do you know why?
It's because I've forbidden the servants from cleaning this room.
And why would you do that?
Beatrice is very dear to me, and I couldn't bear to have her room disturbed after she left. This room was the only memory I had of her after she left.
It's my other sister, who looks exactly like her. You suppose that makes sense. She must have been holding on to the hope that her sister would return. How old is her other sister? Wait. Wait. Never mind. I can't go there. Oh, fuck.
And what about the Sword of Spell Eating? Do you know how it ended up in this room?
I'm not sure. It's possible someone planted it here to frame Beatrice. I can't say why they would choose this room, though.
These are sisters.
23. Oh, 17. 18. Wow. Help. I love that if you're a student, you get demoted from noble to student. We don't have Aster here? Wait a minute. We don't have Aster. We don't have Aster, but we have Alaric? Where's our boy? Where is he? Rude as hell. What the fuck? Even Eris is here. Aster? Come on, man. Show up.
What kind of person was your father?
Oh, well that's not a good reaction. This is never the reaction you want someone to have when you ask about their dad. It doesn't look like William Frege was very beloved. My father was a complicated man. He was a brilliant scholar and businessman, but he was a cold and distant father.
I see. Did he have any enemies?
As the head of House Frege, he controlled nearly every banking house in Wyvengard. There were many people who resented his wealth and power. Luke Triton reaction during Last Spectre. How? That's so funny and true. That's so real.
Can you remember anyone specific? Perhaps someone that he'd slighted recently?
There was Lloyd von Sanctus.
The ruling Lord of Artax?
Yes, I heard that he was recently involved in a court case. My father has been using the controversy as an opportunity to slowly take control of von Sanctus Industries. And from what I've heard, he's been extremely bitter about it. Von Sanctus's reputation must have taken a hit after the Dracogen trials. You doubt he'd get himself involved in another murder. But you can never be too sure. You'll want to speak with him and get more details. Do we want to? I don't want to. Although, would he even consider cooperating with you?
Anyways, are there any other enemies he might have had?
No, none that I can think of.
What can you tell me about Beatrice Frege? I heard that she fled the Frege estate 5 years ago.
Before she left, Beatrice was one of the most powerful mages I'd ever seen. She is incredible. At the age of 13, her talent of magic had even eclipsed my father's. But it was never enough for him.
What do you mean?
Before my mother died, he desperately wanted a son, but he only ever had daughters. Everyone thought that Beatrice would inherit House Frege from my father, but our family knew the truth. William Frege would never leave his legacy in the hands of a woman. What? No matter how hard Beatrice tried, my father would never acknowledge her accomplishments. He was extremely cruel to her. He constantly belittled her achievements and dismissed anything she said to him. And after the accident, he used her disability as an excuse to take away the little influence she had. There was an accident that gave her a disability? Is that why she's blind? Actually, she has another one. Even more disabilities for her. Multiple disabilities and a murderer? Now that's a diversity win. One sec, I'm skipping something. It was a failed stage performance.
If it's not too painful for you, could you tell me more about Beatrice's accident?
Is this even relevant to the investigation?
Any small detail could make a difference. I need to learn everything I can.
I'm not sure about exactly what happened, but it was a magical experiment gone wrong. Beatrice was working at a project at the Imperial Academy. She was trying to create a new spell formula. We're still not sure what happened, but there was an adverse magical reaction. The resulting explosion left her seriously injured and left her completely blind.
Well, I can't imagine how she must have taken that.
Actually, she was probably the most unfazed by what happened. But that didn't matter. My father saw his opportunity. He told me that he was relieving her of her duties so that she could recover. But I knew the truth. He was going to take away her political power and social standing. She was reduced to a mere decoration for our home.
And that must have been why she left. Did she contact you during the time she was missing?
No. No one had heard from her during that time. But as much as I was worried for her, I was also a little happy. Unlike Miriam and I, she had finally broken free from my father. I had no idea what would cause her to return here.
Okay. Okay.
It's a highly extravagant bed. It looks similar to the one in Miriam's dorm.
Yep. Good observation, bestie.
It's a table for guests, but it's extremely dusty. Okay. It's a dresser covered in a layer of dust. It doesn't look like it's been touched in years.
Okay.
Arcane.
Uh-oh.
There's a trace of transmutation magic under the bed. I can't see it clearly. Let me take a closer look. It's Crimson Lotus.
What?
She does deserve to kill him.
It's my sword. What? You never knew her sword had a name.
So someone stole her sword and put it under the bed. So it's not Spell Eater. So Spell Eater is still missing somewhere.
So this is where it's been. But why would it be here?
Oh wait, is that actually her sword or is it just a trace of her sword? I think it's just a trace of her sword.
This is also the room where they found the sword of spell eating.
Or wait, is it her sword? Wait. Was it her sword? Did she find her sword or did she find traces of her sword? Wait. I have confused myself. Hold on. There's a trace of transmutation spell under the bed. Magic. I think it's still missing.
Are the two thefts related somehow?
But why? The only thing similar about them is that they're both swords. There's definitely more to this, but what?
Oh no, we found the sword. You found the missing sword. Wait, you later found the missing sword was found in Beatrice's bedroom. We need to rewrite this. This was also the... Okay, we did find it. Sorry, that was written in a confusing way. That was confusing, I'm sorry. You think you've learned everything you can for now. Perhaps you should move elsewhere. I love when we go from, like, fantasy, vaguely medieval adjacent architecture to, like, this is a storage room in any office building. You enter the storage room, hoping to investigate the air vent that connects to Lord Frega's study. When you come across a person lying on the floor.
What? Jan, is that you?
Oh man, what's with all the noise? I was having such a good nap too. Mr. Hughes? Whoa, it's you two.
Why are you taking a nap in the storage room?
I needed a break from all the chaos going on. The King's Guard won't let us leave until they finish investigating the murder. And this pompous noble shooed me away when I tried to sleep on one of the couches. I didn't expect anyone to find me here. Anyways, the prosecutor told us that you heard the murder from here during the lockdown. Do you think you could tell us what happened? Sure, why not? My nap's kinda ruined anyways.
I'm so sorry about your nap.
So you're working as a servant now?
Not exactly, but I was part of the catering staff. The twins started their own food business after Frege threw us out of the academy. Right, sorry about that. It's not your fault. Even if Rebel was still headmaster, I'm sure the board would have found some other way to get rid of us.
Wait, are Valentina and Valerie here too?
Nah, they just contracted some staff to Lord Frege for the Lord's Ball. I think a bunch of other businesses did the same thing.
You wonder how they feel about this. They lent their services to the very man who got them fired in the first place. William must have offered them a lot of gold.
Man, I can't believe I got myself pulled into another murder investigation. Do I have bad luck or what? The prosecutor told us that you heard the altercation through the air vents. Could Could you tell us exactly what you heard? Well, I didn't hear everything. I was taking a nap in this room when it happened.
Why were you napping here?
I didn't have a choice. I accidentally closed the door when the lock was engaged. Before I knew it, I was trapped here.
Right, you recall Steelwind mentioning that.
Anyways, I heard the sound of some kind of struggle going on. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Lord Frege shout, "Who are you? What do you want?" Then went on for...
If they shouted, "Who are you?" then, like... Unless the person was invisible, which maybe, like, then it probably wasn't his daughter.
That went on for a few seconds. Then I heard the sound of someone getting stabbed. Did you hear the voice of the assailant? They didn't say anything, but I did hear them. The voice was really raspy. I think they had a sore throat or something.
Or they were trying to mask their voice.
Why did you enter the storage room anyways? The servants were complaining about rats running through the air vents, so they sent me to take care of it. I heard one of them running on the vents upstairs, and I followed it here. Figured it had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up and put a trap down. After I was done, I tried to leave, but the door was locked. I don't know what this voice is. I didn't have anything else to do, so I took a nap.
He only heard a few words before the murder struck the final blow. It doesn't give you much to go on, but his testimony could be relevant later. For now, you should probably move so doop 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 boop boop. Wow. You explore the manor further and find one of its many sitting rooms. And there you happen to spot a very familiar face. He's sipping on a glass of wine, and his expression turns disdainful the moment you enter the room.
Oh, wonderful. As if my day couldn't have gotten any worse. Mon Sanctus, what are you doing here? The head of a noble house has just been murdered. I can't very well return to Arnax where my affairs are in such disarray. Anyways, forget what I'm doing here. What are you doing here? Oh, I just wanted to have a friendly chat with one of my favorite noblemen. Oh, I hear that you've been keeping busy since we last met. It must be difficult losing your empire to House Frege.
Tyrion, we do need his help.
Is that so? Well, what makes you think I'd ever help the likes of you? Because it would take suspicion off of you? And let's face it, with your reputation, you could use all the help you could get. How dare you? I'll have you know that I am still a respected member of the nobility. Respected? Is that what everyone is talking about? Is that why everyone is talking about your hand in Justin Way's death? Because the way I see it, being involved in another scandal would destroy what little remains of your reputation. But it makes no difference to me, and to be perfectly honest, I'd like nothing more than to drag you onto the stand and embarrass you a second time.
You can practically hear him grinding his teeth together.
Very well. If it means I won't have to endure your presence any longer, I'll oblige and answer your questions. Honestly, it's just one mess after another with you. Mess? Wouldn't you have much to gain from William Frege's death? On surface level, you might be right, but it's far more complicated than that. House Frege controls the banking houses. They are the main pillar of support for Wyvengard's economy. William's death could have unimaginable economic consequences, regardless of who inherits his house. I would be foolish enough to do something like that. That remains to be seen.
Think what you will. There are others who would benefit from William Frege's death.
You mentioned that other people would benefit from Frege's death? Who specifically?
If I had to venture a guess, I would say Lucio Steelwind benefits the most.
Do you mean the prosecutor's father? But you just said Lord Frege's death would have unimaginable consequences for the economy.
Do you think that brute cares about Wyvengard's economy? No, all that man cares about is power. Pure and physical power. House Steelwind and House Frege have been fighting for control of Wyvengard for generations, and in this long-lasting era of peace, the Steelwind's military have become far less valuable to the crown.
If it weren't for Lady Steelwind's engagement to the Crown Prince, they might not even be considered a pillar family anymore. The death of William Frege is probably exactly what Lucio Steelwind has been waiting for. And if our economy were to suffer, it would cause civil unrest. In a scenario like that, the Crown would have to rely on Steelwind's forces to maintain order.
That does make sense, but could Arya's father really be involved in this? Why not, right? Why not?
It's clear that you think Lucio Steelwind would have much to gain from this, but can you think of anyone else? Well, there is Harold Haraldson.
That can't be his real name.
But what would Mr. Haraldson possibly gain from Frege's death? From what I've heard, William was planning to defund the Haraldson Hall of History. Really? Why would he do that? I'm not sure of the specifics, but supposedly Lord Haraldson has refused to admit the less flattering part of Wyverngarde's history from his exhibits. It's gotten blatant enough that he's drawn the ire of the king himself. They actually got into a very heated argument during the Lord's Ball about it. I heard that William declared that he would be removing House Haraldson from his estate.
You don't want to suspect Mr. Haraldson, but you need to examine every possibility. As the curator, he would have had the easiest access to the Sword of Spell Eating. And he could have staged a robbery to cover his tracks. At the very least, you should give Mr. Haraldson a chance to explain himself. There are so many fucking people to talk to in this case. Like, maybe I don't want to talk to all y'all.
What can you tell me about the defendant in this case? What? She's your client. Surely you would know her better than I. Humor me. Well, I'm sure you're aware that she fled the Frege estate 5 years ago. In doing so, she dealt a blow to House Frege's reputation and directly insulted the Crown Prince by breaking her engagement to him. Hannah, we were right.
Was it Hannah who said that? Whoever said that. You were so correct.
Wait, Beatrice was engaged to Aster?
Yes, it was quite the scandal at the time, and Lucio wasted no time into pushing his daughter into taking Beatrice's face.
Oh. Is that why those three were so awkward last night?
You good? Yeah. You just had a look on your face.
Honestly, the situation is just an absolute mess. And that woman's return will complicate things.
Why were you watching that, Hannah? Beatrice used to be engaged to Aster. So, mess! Beatrice's return complicates things? What did he mean by that?
Do you find Beatrice's return to be inconvenient for you? What do you want about now? Please, don't insult my intelligence, Von Sanctus. Fine, if you must know, my son was arranged to marry William's daughter, Leafy. Leafy? Since Beatrice showed no signs of returning, it was apparent that Leafy would inherit House Frege instead of her. I know when my days are numbered, so I took preemptive action. William wanted a male heir, and I needed to preserve my house, so we both came to an accord. My son and Leafy were arranged to be wed. House Von Sanctus would have been absorbed, but then at least my Jaden would stand at the helm of House Frege.
You nobles are absolutely awful. I should probably consider myself lucky.
Think what you will. I wouldn't expect a commoner to understand.
I mean, good for you, Hannah, but I don't touch those movies. I don't touch them. I actually don't, like, I saw that one in theaters, and I don't know. Like, I don't remember, like, so much of it. I don't remember. I have no memory. Like, I'm, like, trying to remember what the fuck goes on, but there were so many characters that I literally, like, only really remember the opening scene. Like, hold on. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now. Plot. Yeah, I really remember, like, so little of it, and I think part of it is, like, there were so many characters, and, like, I wasn't caught up. I did not watch Civil War, I did not watch, Ultron. So I just, like, didn't know what the fuck was happening. I'm sorry, Hannah. Give me a second. Give me a second to be like, it's hard to watch movies and and process them when you don't know who the fuck Doctor Strange is. Like, I didn't see Ant-Man. I did not know what the fuck was going on, and I think that's why I don't remember any of that movie. So good job, Marvel. Good job, Marvel. No, I was skimming because I was like, I wanted to check something. I found it really quick. Because I was like, I needed to double check that Ant-Man was in it because I, like, vaguely remembered it, and I was like, I think that was around the time that Ant-Man was out. But, like, there was so little, but, like, since I skipped Civil War and I skipped, Ultron, like, I did not know what was going on. Even in I did not know what was going on with Bucky. And I did not know who the fuck Vision was. And I didn't know who Wanda was. I was like, who are these people? Didn't know whatever Strange was doing with his hands. Nothing. No clue. Sitting in the audience, confused. Very confused. When they have that shot of, like, everyone running, and you're just like, this is 10,000 characters, and I don't know who they are. Like, who are they? I'm sorry. I don't have that kind of time. I don't have that kind of dedication, and that's why I'm not a comics book fan. I just couldn't. I couldn't. I don't know what he's doing. He's just waving his hands around.
That's the problem with your generation. You have no sense of duty or obligation. Leafy had already expressed resistance to this marriage, even though she is well aware of the details. Now I'm worried she'll hide behind her sister and end the engagement altogether.
Okay. Leafy never mentioned any of this. As far as you hate to think it, William's death would get her out of this arranged marriage. You should talk to her about this. Anyways, Von Sanctus gave you a decent list of suspects. You've probably learned everything you can from him for now. It'd be best to move. Hey, girl! Oh, wait, shit. God damn it, fuck. Okay, no. I thought I was gonna be able to talk to her more, and I can't. But I can present. Okay, I guess I can't speak to her about her engagement. Rude as hell. You return to the gallery and see a legion of knights inspecting the crime scene. However, you don't see Mr. Haraldson anywhere. The Inquisition must be questioning him. Perhaps you should follow another lead while you wait for him to return. Great. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where we're going. I'm just making sure we've said everything. Damn, all of you look so devastated. What the fuck is happening? Hold on, there is a walkthrough. Let me just do that since it's late and we didn't do as much tonight. I just don't know what to present. And, like, the thing is, we could sit here for a while going through, all of it and just guessing, but I don't think that's an interesting use of our time. Sorry, I'm skimming. Autopsy report and murder weapon. Lockdown. Talk and get those. Method of entry. What Jan heard. Detect magic. Talk what you see. 3 out of 5. Leafs. Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't present. I have to present stuff that she told us about. I think. Present Beatrice's blindness. Okay, no, we got this from someone else. We got this from Aster. I mean, we already talked about her blindness, so I don't, that's why I didn't think to present it, because we already talked about it. Good night, Ninji. Hope work is good tomorrow.
Even after being blinded, Beatrice continued to fight for her freedom. Despite everything that's happened to her, she's always remained determined to live her life on her own terms. I remember when she first came back to the estate after her accident, and my father was convinced that she'd be completely helpless without her sight. But she refused to let her blindness define her. She learned how to navigate the estate using her other senses and continued to study magic.
Could she not have just used a cane? That is perfectly valid.
It's ironic, really. My father tried to use her disability as a way to control her, but in the end it was the very thing that allowed her to break free.
She needed a demon hound, yeah.
I'm sure Beatrice's return must have been surprising for you.
It is. To be honest, I've been hoping for years that she'd finally return. But now that she has, she's just gotten pulled into another one of our family's messes.
Okay, now we can... Shh, be quiet, I'm working. Lady Frege seems to be hiding... Leafy, not Lady. Leafy Frege seems to be hiding what her father was doing in his study. You doubt that she's doing this out of malice. She might not even think it's relevant to the case. But William Frege had many enemies, and he retreated into his study to do something that night. That something could be related to why he was murdered. I'd love to start an argument. Logic, lies, murder. Argument. Psychological profile. You just met Leafy Frege today. She has no reason to trust you. She believes in Beatrice's innocence over everything else. She's usually sincere, so it's unlikely that she's actually involved in her father's murder. She might react well if you respond with a similar sincerity.
Is there something you're not telling us, Leafy? Because I have a feeling that you know more than you're letting on.
What?
What was your father doing in his study?
I already told you. I don't know. I have no idea what my father was doing. My father was a private man. He wouldn't share something like that with me.
He was making some sort of change to his will, wasn't he?
What? Did someone else tell him?
Why did you find the need to hide this from us?
I didn't. The thoughts you saw earlier seem to disagree with that.
We've only just met today, so I understand if you don't trust us. But the Inquisition thinks that Beatrice murdered your father, and they claim that she did so for his inheritance.
That's absolutely absurd.
Regardless, your father's inheritance is a likely motive behind his murder. Many people would have a lot to gain from his death, including you.
Excuse me. Her outfit, someone made a 4 joke earlier. Her outfit got some similarities to the lasses, I just realized. The cloak brooch situation and the white ruffled dress.
I was not involved in this. How could you even think that I'd be capable of something like this? Prosecution won't shy away from prosecuting members of your family. If your sister's truly anxious about what I'll return to next. Didn't mean to okay, yeah, that one.
I didn't mean to imply that you were involved in this, but it's clear that the murderer's motive was to take control of House Frege. This means that their plan heavily relied on who William Frege was leaving his assets to. So I need to know, Ms. Frege, how was your father planning on changing his will?
I don't know. I was never aware of the details of my father's will. I've already told you, my father was a secretive man. He didn't share the details of his estate with me. Oh. Maybe it's this one.
Is that really true, though?
What?
I already know about your arranged marriage to Jaden Von Sanctus. I also know that as a part of this deal, Jaden would inherit House Frege instead of you. You definitely knew about this, and you heavily resisted the marriage in an attempt to stall it, which means you had some idea of how your father's will was arranged. So what aren't you telling me, Miss Frege?
I can't trust you.
What?
You are here on behalf of Crown Prince Oster. The four pillar families and the crown have much to gain from my father's death. How can you assure me that this family information won't be used against my family? So that's why she's been so secretive. Independent agent.
There's nothing I could possibly say to make you trust me. But please understand, I'm only trying to find out who murdered your father. And to do that, I need to know everything that he was doing that night.
Argument 1. I have no reason to trust you, but somehow I can tell that you're being sincere. Will you really protect Beatrice? You're about to reassure her that you will, but something in the back of your mind stops you.
I'll get to the truth of what really happened.
Okay. If that's truly what you're planning to do, I'll tell you what I know. Great. I wasn't trying to be uncooperative, but I didn't know who I could trust.
Considering the circumstances, that's perfectly understandable.
I'm not sure why, but my father was extremely upset that night. According to him, Beatrice had returned and was even more imprudent than before.
He must have been angry about something she said during their meeting. Did he tell you what their meeting was about?
He didn't. And honestly, I didn't really care. I was just so happy that my sister had finally returned. But my father... But my father clearly felt the opposite. Before he entered the study, he told me that he would be pruning the family tree. He was going to disinherit my sister, and several other members of our family.
He probably started drafting a new will to reflect that decision. Has anyone found the draft of this will?
No, it was one of the first things I looked for after the investigation began. The modified will is missing. You doubt that it would even be enforced. He never got the chance to submit it for probate before he died. But you can't discount the possibility that the murderer destroyed it.
Did anyone else know about this?
No one. I didn't even tell Lady Steelwind when she was questioning me.
Because it would have given Beatrice a motive to commit the murder? Anyways, thank you, Ms. Frege.
Mr. Cuthbert?
Yes?
My sister is not a bad person. There's no way that she'd do something like this. Despite what she says, she seems to have some doubts.
She's in good hands. Ruby Tamura's the one defending her at the trial, after all.
I hope so. Anyways, you think you've learned everything you can from Leafy. There's only one last person to speak with, Harold Haroldson. This is a complete mess. I don't remember how to do his voice. As you enter the gallery, you spot Haroldson inspecting the shattered remnants of a display case. If you recall correctly, the display case that he's looking at once held a sword of spelling.
Oh, Mr. Cuthbert, I had a feeling I'd be seeing you again.
It's not British.
He's working for the Crown Prince. Can he be trusted?
It seems word has spread about your deal with Aster.
Hello again, Mr. Haroldson. Harold. Right. Harold, I'm sure you already know that I'm investigating the murder of William Frege, and the prosecution suspects that someone used the sword of spell eating to break into Lord Frega's room. I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about the theft last night. I'll tell you what I can, but I'm not sure how much help I'll be. There we go. I think that was closer.
I can't believe a museum owns such a powerful magical item. I would have expected the noble houses to take it for themselves.
Well, the nobility of today doesn't have much use for items such as these. The power of a lord is based on politics rather than magical strength, and a noble wouldn't want to wield the sword of a demon, even if the legends are just stories.
A demon?
Oh, right. The sword of spell eating is said to have been forged from a pact between a demon and a mage.
Isn't making a pact with a demon just asking for trouble? They'd definitely betray you the first chance they got.
Well, legends say that demons have often drafted blood contracts for this reason.
Why does he not have an age still?
Wait, you mean like a legally binding contract? The concept is similar, but once you sign a blood contract, both you and the demon are magically compelled to fulfill its terms. It's said that violating its terms will result in instant death for the offender, no matter who it is. So I guess there's some protection. Well, as an attorney, I'm sure you understand that it's possible to exploit and use loopholes in any contract. And according to the legends, demons take great pride in their ability to deceive and corrupt people. According to the prosecution, the theft took place during the Lord's Ball. Shouldn't there have been plenty of witnesses in the gallery at this time? That's the strangest thing. Supposedly the gallery room was completely empty when it happened. What? That can't be right. And honestly, I have no idea how anyone could produce enough magic to shatter this display case anyways.
Were the wards protecting the case that powerful?
They were powerful, but that's not the issue here. It would be one thing to dispel the wards and remove the glass protecting it, but it's another thing entirely to completely annihilate the abjuration wards and shatter the glass. Doing something like that would require an extremely powerful spell, more powerful than what would have been needed.
Okay.
So you're saying that the force applied was excessive? Yes, and that's not the worst of it. It's clear that the sword of spell eating wasn't the only item that was stolen. What? Was another artifact stolen that night?
Yeah, you can literally see that it's missing, dude.
You mentioned that another item was stolen? Yes, it's extremely concerning. After the sword of spell eating was reported missing, I checked the other exhibits. That's when I discovered that the armbands of intellect had been stolen as well, and apparently no one else noticed, even though that's a clearly empty case. And unlike the sword of spell eating, we still haven't found the armbands.
You look at the glass case where the armbands used to be. They've been removed, but the glass case is completely intact.
The thief didn't shatter the glass. Exactly. Moreover, the armbands were actually replaced with a very well-made replica.
So maybe they wanted people to think that the sword was the goal to distract from the fact that the armbands were replaced. That's my best guess right now.
What?
What's going on here? The two thefts are completely different from one another. Are they even related? Or did two different thieves coincidentally steal from Harold that night?
You mentioned that someone would have needed a powerful spell to shatter the display case. Wouldn't that narrow down the list of suspects for the theft? Not everyone attending the ball could cast spells that powerful. Well, according to the Inquisition, Beatrice Frege was powerful enough to do that.
Stop it! Stop it!
Was powerful enough to have done this. Discounting the fact that she's completely blind. Yes, I'm well aware with that, and it doesn't sit quite right with me either. Was there anyone else at the Lord's Ball capable of matching Beatrice's power? Only the heads of the 4 pillars could invoke magic this powerful, but apparently Beatrice is an exception to that.
Is Beatrice really that powerful, or is she being scapegoated by one of the house leaders? But the cases can be opened normally, can't they? Otherwise, how would you transport artifacts from place to place?
Ah yes, the magical locks on the case can be disabled.
You detect some fear. Is he hiding something?
How are they normally disabled? They can be turned on and off using a spoken password. And how many people know this password? Only myself. I personally oversee the transport of these items when they're moved.
So Harold could have stolen the sword that night. Could he have staged the robbery to cover his tracks?
Harold, a witness told us that you got into an argument with William Frege on the night of the murder. Was William Frege planning on defunding the Haraldson Hall of History? Yes, he was. He made that very clear. But that doesn't mean I had anything to do with his murder. We're not saying you did, but I need to explore every possibility, so I need to ask, did your argument that night turn hostile? I'll admit that our discussion turned heated, but it never escalated to threats of violence. With how insulting he was, it should have. William was being unreasonable, and I was frustrated, but that's all there was to it. He deserved what happened to him.
The eye shows more resentment than he's letting on.
Did you have any conflicts with him prior to that night? We have had disagreements in the past. He was receiving pressure from the royal family about what I was displaying in my museum. The king believed that some of my exhibits were too controversial for the public eye. What do you mean? I'm sure you've noticed the rise in tension between the common folk and the nobility. I've never been one to shy away from the bloodier parts of Wyverngarde's history. The citizens must know about these parts of history, otherwise we're liable to repeat them. However, the king believed that my historical exhibits did nothing but dig up old wounds. Nothing but the simpletons, the lot of them.
Nobility thinks they can smooth public relations by censoring history, as if they couldn't get any worse. Anyway, it's clear that Harold is passionate about his work. Would that passion drive him far enough to commit murder, though?
Thank you for your time, Harold. Son, Harold, I think we'll be on our way now.
Thank God.
We have a lot of info, but none of it really leads anywhere.
So many people had motive to murder William Frege, but who actually did it?
Perhaps you should take some time to review everything you've learned.
Motives aside, let's go over the events that happened that night. It all started when the sword of spell eating was stolen.
What do we know about the theft of the sword of spell eating?
We don't have a specific suspect, but we do know something about them.
Oh, okay.
It would be one thing to dispel the... Okay. The thief was a powerful mage. That's the only way they could have shattered the magically reinforced glass.
But what about Harold? He could have just unlocked it using his password.
He could have stolen the sword and staged a robbery, but he couldn't have shattered the glass. Only a powerful mage could have done that. And I doubt Harold would lie about that when we can easily confirm it with Steelwind.
Right, but what happened next?
They brazenly stole the sword of spell eating. This caused Harold to report the theft to the King's Guard. And then there's Leify's statement.
What does this tell us about William Frege?
Leify's account gives us a clear fact about when William died. William Frege was murdered after the lockdown was activated.
I thought we already did that.
This means whoever killed him bypassed the lockdown and broke into the magically locked room. They had to have used the sword, right?
That's likely, but not necessarily true. An anti-magic field would have also had the same effect. The murderer could have stolen the sword of spell eating to throw off the investigation.
But anti-magic field is a high-level spell. Not many mages would be able to cast it.
You know, I doubt any of the nobles here will let us see their spell compendiums, but because of how powerful anti-magic field is, we can still conclude that the murderer is a powerful mage. This actually narrows down our list of suspects.
That's still not concrete evidence, though.
We haven't even spoken to all the suspects yet. There's like 10,000. Right, you never got the chance to speak with Lucio Steelwind. But given his status, you wonder if that would even be possible.
Either way, it's a good start, and it's not as if we're defending this case. The trial is getting close anyways.
You don't doubt Ms. Tamara's abilities, but you should share what you've learned with her before the trial begins. It's a little strange that you haven't seen her since the investigation began. But she might be meeting with Beatrice at the dungeon?
Well, let's go find out so we can go to bed.
You arrive at the dungeon and search for Ms. Tamora. She wasn't at the crime scene, so she must be here to discuss case with Beatrice. Or at least that's what you thought, but you don't see her anywhere. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert.
Oh, hi!
You were so caught up in your thoughts you didn't notice that you were walking right in front of Beatrice's cell.
I didn't expect you to be here.
Celeste lets out a shriek as Eris approaches you two from behind. For a split second, you see her hand dart toward her sword. It appears she still hasn't gotten over her instinctual fear of Eris.
Eris, what are you doing here?
Beatrice is actually an acquaintance of my father. He sent me here to help her through this ordeal.
That brings up many more questions, but you don't really have time to pull out on that thread. You have less than an hour before the trial begins. You need to find Miss Tamora.
Have either of you seen Miss Tamora? I have some things to share with her.
She was just here, but she left to retrieve some documents from her office.
Do you have an idea when she'll be back?
She didn't say, but your discussion has something to do with the case. I could pass a message on to her.
You feel a little hesitant for some reason, but it is her life on the line. If anyone should know about what you found during your investigation, it's her.
Okay, let me tell you what I know.
You spend some time going through your findings with Beatrice, from your list of suspects to the possible motives behind the murder. You notice that with each revelation becomes more uneasy. The idea of someone framing her must be stressing her out?
I see. You've certainly been very thorough.
Yes, but I still have no concrete evidence that points to anyone.
We underestimated him. If he reveals these findings to Prince Asta, he might suspect something.
What?
Eris is like, I'm gonna glitch you.
Sorry, I was just deep in thought.
And you were able to catch one of those thoughts.
Beatrice, I'm sure you're aware that Prince Asta has your best interests at heart.
Oh, god damn it.
I know. Even though we haven't spoken for the last 5 years, I still consider him a dear friend.
Then I suppose you have no issue with me sharing these findings with him?
Of course not. This is bad. Even he wouldn't support us if he knew that I was involved.
Wait, what was that? Her thoughts just said that she was involved. Did she actually murder her father? Or at the end of the last case, we saw that Ruby was involved with fucking the eye guy, and who is Eris's dad. So she's supposed to be friends with Eris's dad. She could actually be involved in whatever is happening there, which probably has to do with taking down noblemen or something and causing I don't know.
Is something wrong, Mr. Cuthbert? You look a little pale.
Beatrice was actually behind this? But how? She's completely blind. She couldn't have navigated through the manor and avoided the guards. No, you must be taking her thoughts out of context. That's it.
Mr. Cuthbert, perhaps you should get some rest. You look dreadfully tired.
You think very carefully about what to say next. There's one way to get a certain answer through the eye, but if you're wrong...
Beatrice, you weren't actually involved in this, were you?
Tyrion? You see her gaze narrow in response to your question. Once again, she claps her hands together. She's clearly trying to stay calm.
Do you suspect me now, Mr. Cuthbert?
You didn't answer my question, Beatrice.
As if I'd even need to justify it with a response. But no, Mr. Cuthbert. I was not responsible for my father's murder. At least, not directly. I was technically an accomplice.
I think that wolf might have fucking murdered him.
An accomplice?
Did she work together with someone? Cuthbert?
Ms. Tamora?
Your mentor seems to have sensed the mood in the air. She raises an eyebrow at you.
Ms. Tamora, can I speak alone with you for a second?
Okay. What's wrong? Is everything okay? We've moved over 3 centimeters.
Ms. Tamora, Beatrice, she actually did murder William Frege.
Ms. Tamora's gaze narrows. Her eyes dart around the room to make sure the guards didn't overhear you. What are you talking about? How could you possibly know that?
I used the Eye of Horus on her. She conspired with someone else to orchestrate William Frege's death.
Have you told anyone else about this?
No, it's not as if they'd believe me anyways. You're the only other person who knows about my abilities.
Okay. Just stay quiet for the time being. Anyways, I need to get ready. The trial starts in half an hour.
What? You're not seriously going to defend her, are you? Of course I am. I'm her attorney. But she's guilty. I saw it. Look, at this point, I don't know what you saw. You think I can just abandon a client minutes before a trial? No, but it's not for either of us to decide who's guilty and who's not. Everyone has a right to an attorney. Our court system needs a defense attorney and a prosecutor to keep things fair. More importantly, you had no right to use the Eye of Horus on my client without my permission. What? But I don't have time to argue about this. We will be talking about this later.
Before you have a chance to respond, Ms. Tamura walks away. Celeste sees both of you and awkwardly approaches you. Hey, Tyrion? Is everything okay?
Celeste? I think Beatrice was actually behind this.
What? You don't blame her for not believing you. It's not as if you can tell her about the Eye of Horus. Although, why haven't you told her? Alright, I believe you.
What?
You wouldn't say something like that if you weren't sure, right?
But if what you're saying is true, what do we do now? You think long and hard for a moment.
I don't think we need to do anything.
What?
Steelwind is handling the prosecution, and she's definitely no pushover. If Beatrice is truly guilty, I'll just have to trust her to get the job done. Either way, I don't think we're in any position to get involved.
Alright, if you say so.
It's really none of your business. You have no stake in this. You're not obligated to do anything. You've done everything you can. It's in their hands now. Oh, girl down. Literally. It's none of your business. This isn't your fight. William Frege was a tyrant and a bigot anyway. He's a noble who did nothing but steal wealth from the common folk. The world is better off without him. And it's not as if you didn't try. All you had to do is wait for the trial to run its course.
Objection!
Fucking... Come on, bestie.
Your Honor, I'm afraid you can't pass a verdict just yet. Mr. Cuthbert?
Cuthbert, what the hell are you doing?
I don't know. But what I do know is there was a massive contradiction in Miriam Frege's testimony.
We are back to the beginning of this game. Who are you kidding? As if you were ever the type of person to stand by and do nothing. Would you like to save your progress? Yes, because I would like to go to bed. Well. Alright. That's all for today. My throat is so dry. I have like 8 hours of audio to get through for work tomorrow. I need to go lay down for a long time. And by that I mean about 8 hours. Thank you all for hanging out. Thursday, we are finishing VLR. We are finishing Virtue's Last Reward. That is a fucking promise. Friday, no stream because I'm away, and Monday, we will be back here. And I don't know if we'll be finishing this case, but we will definitely be doing our damnedest to try. We could finish this case. I just, like, skimmed at how long the walkthrough is. I didn't read anything, but I think we could finish this case next week. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I'll see you all on Thursday. Or not. I'll see you whenever. Get some sleep, get some water, hydration. And that's all. Okay, goodbye.